Now, the three-day meeting aims to come up with solutions to address South Africa's out-of-control drug problem. Our reporter Hloni Mtimkulu is following that story, and she joins me now live. Hloni, of course, a lot of things need to be discussed when it comes to how easily it is to actually get drugs in South Africa. Was that a topic?
Yeah, Masoko, so you hear the Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi talking about dealing decisively with drug lords because they're the ones who are bringing these drugs into the communities, and everyone knows who these drug lords are. But of course, the drugs being in the communities is also balanced by the fact that there is a demand for them. So the supply is balanced against the demand for drugs. And this is part of the conversation, or a big part of the conversation here today, that's trying to kind of find that balance between the demand and the supply. Now, a bigger problem, of course, is the fact that South Africa seems to be a transit route or a supply route, or, there is something that's happening in South Africa where we are having these drug busts that we've seen in the past few weeks. Certainly just in October and in this month, we've seen quite a few around the ports in Durban, in Gqeberha, and we've also seen a few around airports as well. And so that was also a topic of conversation as well when we asked the various officials about how do you address the situation where on the ground you're kind of dealing with children that are using all of these drugs. They talked about earlier, the Central Drug Authority talked about the use of cannabis, the use of heroin, the use of crystal meth, as well as alcohol. And, you're talking about how it's affecting society. But, of course, the issue of how is it that users are able to get to access all of these things in the first place. So, they are saying all of these things. And we spoke also to the Minister of Social Development. Of course, this falls under her portfolio, about how big a problem this is for them. And she does say it is a big problem. She did say that the battle is not lost. So some officials said, it seems like we're fighting a losing battle because, first of all, the summit is the first one since 2011, but just in terms of in the time in between, they've developed this national drug master plan, and they realize that there is a problem. But she says we can't say that we've lost the fight, that we can reverse the gains, that the losses rather that have been made and make them into gains. She referenced COVID-19, Masoko, where she says, COVID-19 showed us a different way of living, and so we can actually do it if we basically put our minds to it. But let's hear a little bit more from the Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu, in terms of just how big a problem the issue of drug and illicit goods are in the country.
The problem is big. That's why when we were speaking earlier on there, we were saying we must not give up. Let us first and foremost accept that as a nation, we are a nation where the making of the drugs is happening here, the trafficking of the drugs is happening here, the drugs that are coming from other countries. We have become also a route, because as you are aware, we have our oceans, we have our centers where normal products are supposed to be coming in, and in that process of ensuring that there's normal products coming in, some people take advantage and bring the drugs into the country.
Hloni, also there's the blame game when it comes to, drug trafficking in South Africa. They'll be blaming police apparently being in the pockets of the drug dealers, etc. But there's also the societal matter, the fact that there are parents who know their children buy or sell drugs and they don't out them, etc. Has that also fallen part of the discussion?
It has, and you're right, because essentially, the minister, I think it was the minister that we spoke to, or the chairperson of the Center for Central Drug Authority, who said that they shouldn't be working, or the different stakeholders should not be working in silos. And so I think in that case, then you won't say it's whoever's fault or it's whoever's fault, but you take a collective or integrated approach to how you manage the situation. We did speak to SAPS as well, Major General Thokozani Matonzi, about what could be the issue. The minister talks about the borders. She talks about that drugs are being brought here, that South Africa seems to be an easy route. And we've seen those drug bust shipments coming from Brazil, for example, and then leaving the country to go to Europe, for, in other examples. But, the police do talk about that. The need for border control is so important in terms of this, that they are ramping that up and they are working on it, that they have looked into it. And so, obviously, as you say, it is a bigger issue that, different role players, everyone needs to basically come together, because at the end of the day, whether it is the police that are at fault or, are being said they are at fault, whether it's the families and the society and the communities and the neighbors that know who these people are, whatever the other issue is. The fact is that you still have children, for example, and we heard from testimonies from those who had been affected. We had a sister who says her brother is affected. We had a parent who said their child is affected. Junaid Hartley, the former footballer, he was here as well giving us his testimony, and we've heard so much about Junaid's journey with drugs, So whoever it is, the fact is it's affecting people the way that it is, and it's destroying lives, it's destroying families and communities as well. But let's hear a little bit more from SAPS through Major General Thokozani Matonzi in terms of how they see this issue, Masakho.
Well, the issue of drug is still a big problem in the country. Of course, as the police, as far as the drug master plan is concerned, we focus on supply reduction, which then we undertake different operations to make sure that we can seize the drugs, as also deal with the issues of detection, etc. But the problem still remains when it comes to drugs, and hence it's important to have summits such as this, because it reinforces what we always say, that for us, if we're going to win this fight against drugs, we definitely need to work with all the relevant stakeholders to prevent these drugs.
All right, Hloni Mtimkulu live for us in Boksburg. Thank you. Let's leave it there for now.